The FBI denies Congress access to a very important document. Remember, James Comer and Chuck Grassley sent a subpoena to Christopher Wray and the FBI demanding access to this document. It's an item that memorializes a conversation that somebody had with the FBI, allegedly implicating Joe Biden and the Biden crime family and a whole bunch of stuff. The FBI got the subpoena. This is what it looked like. It was delivered, handed over May 3rd, coming out of the Oversight Committee and Accountability Committee, directed specifically to Christopher Wray. And there was a cover letter that we read through in full, but very briefly. This says that on May 3rd, we've sent over a subpoena. We want the FBI required to produce all the FD 1023 forms created in a particular time frame. The committee is considering legislation. We're seeking transparency into family members and so on. House Rule 10 gives us a lot of authority to do this. Give us your documents. Signed sincerely, James Comer. And attached to this was the subpoena. You see, hey, FBI Director Christopher Wray, you are hereby commanded to appear before the Oversight Committee on May 10th, that time has passed, and produced the items that we want. In particular, all FD 1023 forms, anything containing the term Biden, we want it. We know you've got it because they told us you've got it. So give it over to us. That is what the FBI had. We saw the May 10th deadline came and passed, and the FBI, Christopher Wray, sent a response back over to Congress, basically telling them, you're not getting these items. Here's what he said back on May 10th. Coming from the Office of the Assistant Director out of the FBI, U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Congressional Affairs, this document is 6 pages. It is drafted by the Acting Assistant Director at the FBI. His name is Christopher Dunham. So the letter goes back over to Congress and he says, hey, dear Chairman James Comer from the Oversight Committee, says this letter is responding to your subpoena, the one that we just looked at. As this was your first communication with the FBI seeking this information, please know the FBI is committed to beginning the constitutionally mandated accommodation process. We got a lot of work to do before we can comply, you know. The FBI is committed to working to provide the committee the information's necessary, but we also have to protect our executive branch confidentiality interests. And so the FBI now seeks and appreciates the opportunity to inform you of our confidentiality interests. It's a nice way of saying we're going to tell you why we're not giving you the documents. We're committed to working together through this process. Oh, it's so patronizing. We know that we need to avoid the polarization of disputes. Now, your letters and accompanying subpoenas, they seek the Biden 1023 forms. By way of background, just so you know, James, sensitive law enforcement materials like the 1023 confidential human source reporting form, the one that you've expressed interest in there, James, are critical to the FBI's faithful execution of the laws, and they're appropriate for national security. The form is used to record unverified reporting from a CHS. Reporting by CHSs is one form of very highly sensitive law enforcement officers' capabilities. And we work with our sources in many forms. Now, as is clear, they're going to give us some background on the CHS stuff. CHSs often provide information to the FBI at great risk to themselves. The information they provide can also create significant risks to others who might be referenced in their reporting. So we have to protect their identities. We can't give you information. They might be harmed. And some of the most valuable CHSs maintain this protected relationship for decades. And it's often just categorically highly sensitive as well. Significant harm to investigative work could come from giving you the 1023s. If we let you see them, we could have our work harmed. It's also critical to keep confidential the FBI's methods for identifying our CHSs. And these methods, which facilitate the FBI, help us find violent gangs and organized crime families, except the Biden crime family, they don't look at that one, terrorist cells, and other dangerous organizations. And so for these good reasons, the Department of Defense policy restrict and strictly limit how we can give this information outside of the FBI. We can't give you anything. Information provided by CHSs also implicates long-standing confidentiality issues, investigative reports, include leads, and we can't tell you how those things work. These are fundamental principles. And so they also tell us that the information is also unverified and by definition incomplete. An FD 1023 form documents information as told to a line FBI agent. Recording the information does not validate the information, okay? So even if you get access to this document, doesn't mean it's true. We don't establish its credibility. We don't weigh it against other information. The mere existence of the document would establish little beyond the fact that a CHS source provided it and the FBI recorded it. In other words, we receive information all the time and we may not act on it. It comes from drug traffickers, organized crime, except the Biden family, and even terrorists. And so the FBI says, you have asked for what you say is a precise description of an alleged criminal scheme contained in a single 1023. You express concern that the FBI has inappropriately failed to disclose a report to the American people. It is critical to the integrity of the entire criminal justice process and to our fulfillment of the law that the FBI avoid revealing information, including unverified or incomplete information, that could harm investigations, not going to give it to you for that reason, that could prejudice prosecutions or proceedings, unfairly violate privacy or reputational interests, or create misimpressions in the public. For reasons we're not going to give these up. Often, even confirming that it exists causes harm. That is why it's long been standard practice to neither confirm or deny a fact. Thus, your request for a single report that you say includes a precise description risks harms that our rules protect against. And as noted, we have to adhere to our rules. Now, to be clear, they say the FBI does recognize Congress's authority, which is just so funny. They don't. Christopher Wray has to go on his airplane. Even so, the DOJ has long taken the position that Congress's authority to seek information does not lead inexorably to the conclusion that they must give it. The integrity, they call, of their work at the FBI, which is laughable, is requiring us to preserve a separation of powers. We knew that argument was coming up. Executive branch cannot effectively investigate if Congress is commandeering the executive branch, which is the best argument of all of these. But it's also the same argument that they bring up every time. And Congress can say, okay, well, if you're not going to let us have oversight, we're just going to defund you, right? That would be the remedy. Whether Congress has the balls to do that or does it, we'll see. It also would not be appropriate for Congress in seeking to secure information to usurp our role as law enforcement. There are many kinds of law enforcement sensitive informations, not just 1023s, that are created, and those are our purview. So they say, hey, James, we hope that this overview of our program, idiot, and our 1023 reports help explain to you morons in Congress why the FBI and the department have strong interests in protecting this information and why reviewing unverified 1023 information without protections would undermine these interests. We also hope that you understand that keeping this kind of source information free from the reality or the perception of improper influence is appropriate. So we have provided you with this background to move forward in the accommodation process. Consistent with that process, we anticipate the committee may wish to discuss its need for the information you requested and would be pleased to coordinate so we can accommodate your request without violating our law enforcement and national security obligations. Sincerely, your friend, Christopher Dunham, Acting Assistant Director for the Office of Congressional Affairs. It's a very passive-aggressive way of saying, we're not giving you the documents. We can't give you anything. Send us something else. We provided this. We anticipate you may wish to discuss its need, and we'd be pleased to coordinate about how we can accommodate what you need, but you're not getting all the 1023s. You're not getting them from us. This is the FBI. We run this country in conjunction with the CIA and the rest of the bureaucratic state, and we don't listen to Congress unless we agree with Congress. Unless you happen to be Liz Cheney and you create your own select committee, then you can basically do whatever you want. But the FBI is a little bit of a different beast, and they are responding, and we'll see what happens. Congress will have to do something about this, either whimper away with their tails between their legs, file something in court, or pass legislation or do something in their own branch. We'll see what happens, but they are responding. Comer and Grassley reply to the FBI letter. They say, while the FBI has failed to produce the specific document by subpoena deadlines, their offer to provide an accommodation process in response to our legitimate request, guess what, indicates the document is real. So they tried not to confirm either or deny the existence of it, But the fact that they're telling us, give us a call, let's talk about it in another way, leads us to believe it's real. So the question remains, what did the FBI do to investigate very serious allegations from an apparent trusted FBI source that was implicating then Vice President Biden? Today's letter from the FBI raises additional questions, including whether the FBI has an open investigation based on the allegations. Is that why they can't give it over? Because it's pending? The American people pay the FBI salaries they're entitled to a fulsome response. Comer said, it's clear from the FBI's response that the unclassified record the Oversight Committee subpoenaed exists, but they're refusing to provide it. We've asked the FBI not only to provide the record, but also to inform us what it did to investigate these claims. The FBI has failed to do both. The FBI's position is trust, but you aren't allowed to verify. That's unacceptable. We plan to follow up with the FBI, says Comer, and we expect compliance with the subpoena. Now, we know what the form is. Describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then Vice President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money. Apparently, it has a precise description of how the alleged scheme was employed as well as its purpose. And so it is a very juicy document, and we'd like to get our hands on it. So would Chuck Grassley and James Comer, and we'll see whether they are able to do that. The FBI is saying they have an accommodation process. Maybe that means they'll just let them come in and look around and maybe not give them the document. They'll be able to report on it. We'll see. But that is the update. FBI once again denying Congress. We'll see if Congress digs its heels in. And of course, we'll continue to cover this. Thank you for subscribing wherever you're watching. Thank you for liking this video. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next subpoena from Congress.